This is Creative Banter. Having the opportunity to witness the evolution of thought and of practice over a period of time is a truly magnificent thing. To watch as someone grows and learns from past experiences, to see how their thinking changes as they encounter new challenges. That is, at the very core of it, what we are discussing in this week's episode. And as usual, I hope there is something beneficial within these ramblings for you all. Let's dive right into it, shall we? Alright, I think we're okay.
Hopefully. We'll see.
Anyway.
Yes, our track record is not good so far, the 30 seconds into this. So,
Yeah, no, not really. But I'm starting this off sick, or coming on with sickness.
Do you think it's the COVID that's going around again?
No, so my girlfriend came down with like a cold type symptoms or whatever over the weekend. Of course, long weekend, and we spent it primarily inside doing not much of anything, which is just fantastic. And then last night I started in the back of my throat. She went and she had gotten checked up on Sunday and wasn't strep or anything, and so for the most part she's been decently okay, but I just felt it in the back of my throat last night. I'm like, thanks. Yeah. Move in and you get me sick.
It's crazy how it just kind of comes on all of a sudden too. We're like everything's fine, and all of a sudden there's like, whoa, something's brewing that's not great.
Exactly. It was like, I forget if it was like Saturday that she just started not feeling well, and then it kept getting worse. And the whole weekend, normally when we're together, even for extended periods, it's like she gets sick and it's whatever. I won't get anything from her. For some reason, this time it hit. I'm like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a repeating pattern here now that she's moved in. She gets sick and then I get sick, and it just keeps cycling.
Yeah. Taking stuff home from school,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Her first week of being there and she's already sick from them.
Yeah.
It's great.
So it's been a little while now, a little over a week since I launched the pre-sale for the 2023 portfolio in the zine. And
yes,
I gotta say that the night before that video went live, I had a hard time sleeping. And I don't know what it is, just because, I mean, I've been doing the portfolios since 2017. And before that, I did the book. So it's not like that's any different. The zine doesn't really, I mean, it's mostly done. It's just a matter of me figuring out how many to order based on the number of pre-orders, and then, submitting the stuff. So from a work standpoint, it's nothing different than I've done before. But there's just something about it this time where I'm just like, I almost had like this feeling of, dread isn't the right word, but just like, I think it's anytime you kind of put yourself out there, perhaps, there's just that feeling that something's not going to go right, or, something along those lines. But, it went really well, and the portfolios have done really well. At the time of us recording this, it's an addition of 150, and like 109 of them have already sold, which is insane. It's higher than in the past.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, I was going to say, because in the past, like, it's taken a while.
Yeah, usually I would hit like 100, maybe, I don't know, as we get towards Christmas time or whatever. So it's definitely going faster. And this year with the variable of doing the zine as well, and I decided to do the standard zine and then a zine that also includes a print, and the print is not one that's included in the print portfolio. And I decided to do bundles where a person can order the portfolio, only the portfolio with the standard zine, or the portfolio with the premium zine. And a lot of the people who have been supporters for a long time who buy the portfolios, because I see the same names each time, which is really awesome. But a lot of people opted to go with the premium zine bundle. And I think I was maybe like the night before it all went live, I was worried that maybe people wouldn't buy the portfolios as much because the zine is at a lower price point. But it's been a really interesting experience. And also, people that are buying the standard zine, a lot of times it's people that haven't been customers in the past. So when I'm logging the transactions into my QuickBooks, I'll see if it's like a new name that I haven't, it's a new customer. And so I've been adding lots of new customers as well. And the reason for mentioning this is the idea for the zine came really from a lot of the conversations that we've had.
Right.
And so it's kind of nice how that has amounted to something based on these conversations and kind of coming up with the ideas and bouncing things off, and both the unpolished ebooks and the zine and all that. I don't think I would have taken the initiative of doing that, because I wouldn't have thought of doing that without those conversations. So I just wanted to thank you for that, because I think it's nice to be able to talk these things out and kind of figure out which direction to go with various projects and stuff. So I'm going to have some very busy weeks ahead of me, and especially after coming back from coming home from Zion in a month and a half or so, when that trip is. But yeah, it's been an interesting experience so far.
Yeah. I mean, congratulations on the success with it, of course.
Yeah.
It was funny because I've only bought one of your print portfolios before. And I think I have the 2018 one, and I was flipping through it because I was shuffling my bookshelves around and everything. And I noticed that it was an edition of 200.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, like there's just something about watching that process of how things evolve and how you've chosen to go about all of this. I mean, from 2018 with an edition of 200, and I can't remember the pricing, but I'm sure it was similar.
Yeah, it was pretty similar.
And then going towards what you have now with the different bundles instead of doing the stacked pricing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious, once this is all said and done, how your bottom lines line up compared to last year because of not doing the stacked pricing. Yeah. But I definitely think it's a solid idea.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those things that, just as you're saying, it evolves through the years and changes a little bit based on feedback and such. And it's nice. It's something that I can depend on now in terms of, a primary source of income that, because it's tough to do photography for a living, as as many people know. And so you kind of finding something that people enjoy, I think has been kind of cool. But it also got me thinking a little bit about this idea of collaboration. So when you hear the word collaboration, what is it that comes to mind for you?
A group of people working together to make something that's greater than what they could make on their own. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
And so you have a positive association with the word collaboration?
I think for the most part, or at least I would like to. I mean, when I think of collaboration too, I think of like the working in groups in school and like the stereotypical situations that come about with that. Like one person does all of the work, the others just kind of slack off.
Yeah.
Like I'll do if it's a like 4-part paper or something that you're writing together, I want to do the intro or the conclusion because that's the easiest.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it introduces the people politics of it all.
Yeah.
But like for me, and maybe it's because I am a little bit jaded from the standpoint of the whole like influencer culture and stuff like that, where the word collaboration for me is actually taken on a bit of a negative meaning, because it's just a roundabout way of saying an advertisement for the most part. And I think it's because I get so many of these emails, both to me, but also to me because of my fake wilderness influencer account, of all these, brands that are looking for collabs and this, and, stuff like that, where it's just like, it's got me a little bit jaded on it. But as you were talking about, like when it comes to like doing group work in school and stuff, I always hated group work. I just, to me, what I would end up seeing is that you end up having these very creative people that come away with a very watered down idea, as it takes all the sharp edges off things that make it creative, and it just kind of rounds it down to this kind of blob of whatever. And so I think both through school, But also now with, like, for example, YouTube, they say, the one of the formulas for success is if you want to be very successful on the platform, you have to collaborate with other creators and you have to, have all this shared audience stuff. And I'm just like, I've got no desire for that. Like, to me, it just seems like it's going to take something that is more individualized and more creative, and it just kind of waters it down a bit. So at least for me, when it comes to some of the stuff I do, I feel like I'm most creative if it's just me doing my own thing. But when it comes to talking through the various ideas and ways of doing things and stuff like this podcast, for example, which I don't know if this is considered a collaboration, maybe it is, but maybe a thought collaboration as opposed to a, producing something sort of collaboration. But I see a ton of value in that sort of situation, as opposed to, people, getting together and creating something that is, I don't know. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but all that just to say that I think there's a place for people to create their own thing independently without having to do things as a group, but then have the ability to discuss things and formulate ideas and stuff in a way that other people can benefit from.
Yeah, I mean, the whole like influencer kind of thing drastically changed the word collaboration. Yeah. And like collaborating with brands is how we associate these new advertisements, more so because I think the brands didn't want to come out right and be like, oh, we're advertising to you. Or do you want to work with us to advertise to you? They want to get rid of that word because it has such a negative connotation. Yeah. And now they've kind of done the same thing with collaboration instead. Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same thing with content.
Yes. Yeah, that's another one that bugs me. Just because I think it's because the definition has just been twisted to be something that's more like capitalist and all about like, earning money and this and that, as opposed to just people creating things for the sake of creating things.
Exactly. Even like influencer has like been shifted into more, we see them more negatively.
Oh yeah.
Just over the period of time because of social media and the glorification of it all. So, but I definitely think that there is still a positive to collaborating.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really see collaborating creatively all that often, at least not like photographically. Yeah. I know that with a lot of people, they go out into the field and like you kind of have two sides to the coin here, where you have the major introverts, I guess you could say, who don't want anyone around them when they're creating. And then you have the more extroverted people who want people around, and obviously there's a mix there. Yeah. But if I go out into the field with someone else, most of the time I'm not going to pick up my camera.
I'm the same way. Yeah, for sure. I can't.
We'll have a conversation while we're hiking around and walking, and more of, like you said, a thought collaboration, but it's not going to be like you take a photograph from this angle and I'll do it from this angle and we'll make some kind of print and some creative project comes from it. It's more of just talking and thinking things through.
Yeah. For me, if I'm out trying to take pictures and if anyone else is around, it's like me trying to do math and them shouting out random numbers. I can't do math in my head when someone's shouting out random numbers. I can't take pictures. I can't have that connection with the subject. If there's other people around, there's definitely something about that. And sounds like we're both on the same page in that regard.
Which seems pretty usual for our conversations anymore.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But thinking on like evolution and thinking on collaboration and social media, I know that I said last week I wasn't going to drop another bomb on you on the show. But, I mean, from the looks of it, you already found out, so whatever.
Yeah.
I decided to join up on Instagram and their threads, whatever, again. And I'm not sure what I plan on doing with it.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything is going to come of it. But I've been going through these different ideas, and remember a couple months ago, I mentioned about doing weekly articles?
Yeah.
Okay. So I had kind of given up after a short period of time with these weekly articles. They were just I was going off to Acadia, and so it was kind of in that time period where I was thinking, okay, I need this week's article. I need next week's article. I need an article for the 2 weeks or each of the 2 weeks that I'm going to be gone for Acadia. And then I have 2 weeks where I need to write an article each. And then 2 weeks for Colorado. And then another 2 weeks for after Colorado.
I'm getting anxiety just thinking about that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was sitting down the one day, maybe 2 weeks before my trip, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I can't write well enough that far in advance. I was thinking, like, I need eight or 10 articles. Mind you, only like 1,000 to 2,000 words, 1,500 words average, whatever. But still, it was giving me so much anxiety of thinking about this, so I just dropped it completely.
Yeah.
And didn't really give it much thought throughout most of the summer up until, I'd say maybe over this weekend, I was thinking about it a little bit. And the whole idea when I first started this was to just kind of use it as almost like a journal in a way, but more of like a high-end journal. So still writing up to the highest caliber I can put out, write 4 articles a month, and then throw out into my newsletter this single article that's long form that just takes all those ideas, all those thoughts from the 4 articles and puts it into one. Which in hindsight, and when I was talking to Dan White about, it's not the best idea to put your top best article in a newsletter and not public facing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the whole idea originally. And just the pressure of it was getting to me.
Yeah. Understandably so.
But I've started to revisit this idea, and I'm thinking about how exactly I want to go about it, which kind of brings us to like the whole idea of social media and Substack, actually. And I've been contemplating like joining Threads, and obviously I went and created an account. Luckily, I was actually able to get my same username as I had before, which I was surprised by.
Oh, that's very good. So you had completely given up your account before it was completely gone.
Yep. It was completely gone, completely erased, deleted, everything. Bye-bye.
And now how long ago was that now? I'm trying to remember.
2 years?
Yeah. Was that, so it was...
It was right around when we started this.
Okay.
Yeah. So gave that up, decided to restart it just because I thought it would be, I've been thinking, and the only thing that I really miss about social media is having a platform to interact, to share my work and my thoughts, and to kind of like be a part of a community in a sense.
Yeah. And definitely social media is very good for that, just so long as you kind of avoid all the pitfalls that go with it.
Yeah. So there are a couple different ideas that I have regarding it. Like I was just going to use Threads and just, that's it. But of course, Threads isn't separated from anything. It's connected directly to Instagram. So you need to create an Instagram account to use Threads.
Yeah.
Which really stupid setup, but whatever. And so I'm like, all right, so I'll do that. And I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I want to go about everything, including from like weekly articles, if I start those back up, as well as social media and these interactions. So I was also looking at Substack as a alternative to social media, or at least to blogging on my website. Because Substack has its own algorithm, its own platform and everything. It pushes out your content to a certain degree to help draw people into subscribing to your newsletter or articles, whatever.
Does that have integration with like Instagram and Threads as far as being able to like promote your Substack stuff through those social media platforms? To
a certain degree, I think. I haven't looked into it that much yet.
Okay.
I know that you can like share things from Substack over to Instagram and Threads, so I'm sure there's some degree of integration there.
Because there can definitely be some value in that sort of thing, just to, just put stuff out there so people can kind of, if the Substack is more so kind of like the home base for things, and any sort of feelers you put out there to get people over there could be a good thing.
Yeah. So I figured I'd try out Substack. I'm going to probably set that up just for weekly articles, and then once a month or every other month, write something that's much bigger that goes directly onto my website and draws traffic straight over there, just to kind of have that little bit of separation and just see if Substack, if using that platform can help me to grow an audience more than posting natively to my website might.
But you're still going to have that self-imposed deadline of the articles.
When I first started, I was treating it like these articles have to be fresh and polished. They have to be perfect, or as perfect as I can get them. Mm-hmm. And that was really my whole downfall with it. Like, it has to be at least 1,500 words. It has to be edited a couple of times. And if there are any mistakes, like, everything has to be good. And instead, I want to go into this more as just a blogging kind of sphere. More of just traditional blog, like 500 words here, 250 words today, 1,000 words tomorrow, depending on what the topic itself calls for. Yeah. And just kind of do it that way. More of reflections on life, creativity, and nature, rather than full-on articles or essays. Yeah. So I'm hoping that, because I'm kind of already doing this when I'm journaling each day or every other day or whatever, I'm hoping that I'm able to keep up with that, because it's not as big of a deal. Like, I'll edit it through once and send it out into the world. Like, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be messy, but they're just sending out thoughts and reflections on things.
So would it be a little bit like what Jeffrey Sidoris does with the iterations?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I really enjoy listening to his, I haven't read the writing, but I listened to it in the podcast form. And it always seems like he's pulling these fascinating takes on various things and pulling things from memories and stuff along those lines. And I could see how that could be less pressure of having stuff like that, where you're just, I don't know, going for a run or something, and you have a thought that, you know, you want to put out there and maybe not necessarily make it into like a big article, but just, you know, like you said, kind of putting it out there. So I see how that could be a very good thing.
Yeah. So pretty sure I'm calling it snippets, which goes into that whole thing of they're just thoughts. They're just what comes to mind, throwing it out into the world and seeing what sticks. Because that's kind of how, if I plan to use social media, to especially Threads or a platform such as it, I just wanted to send out thoughts into the world, send out little things here and there, and just have, again, going back to that phrase that you used, that sorry, I
can't help you on that one because I don't even know what I said.
No. I got distracted by David Kingham just texted me. Anyway, back to what we were doing here.
Yeah.
It goes back to that phrase that you had coined, that thought collaboration.
Yeah.
And just throwing things out there and seeing what people connect with, and then taking those and turning them into longer essays. So Substack also has this feature similar to how Twitter was or Threads is, where you can just talk with your audience and send things out, send messages out. And someone was doing it. Simon Saris was just asking his audience, like, what do you want me to write about next? Like, what are you interested in learning from me that I can possibly help you with? And I just like that form of community, that idea of, I'm writing at the end of the day for myself, but I also want to put good into the world and help people as much as I can.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be ultimately the best bet. It's just a matter of, can I handle social media in a way that's healthy and doesn't lead me down that same dark rabbit hole as I had been down before?
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate issue right now.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like with social media, I mean, it can definitely have the negative side of things, but at the same time, like, I mean, I gain a lot from it in terms of, like you're saying, like the sense of community and everything else along those lines. And I think it's when people take things a bit too seriously, whether they're like, you know, trying to please the algorithm or do any of that sort of stuff, which I honestly don't care about. I don't have the time or energy to even to care about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so long as you don't take it too seriously and you just go into it knowing that everyone's really going to share only their best work. So, you know, to not go down the doom scrolling route and this and that. I think it can be a very powerful tool. I mean, without it, I wouldn't be able to do what I do for a living. But I think it's also important a little bit to just not really care what other people think or what other people are doing. I mean, I know that doesn't sound great. I mean, obviously, I want people to do well, but like I'm not like, I don't get jealous if I see someone post a amazing picture from somewhere. I genuinely like feel good that they were able to have those conditions. But you know, it's just a tool that you have to, I think, use in the right way and not fall into any of the traps that are out there. Do you have any plans on how you're going to go about strictly the social media side to perhaps not fall into some of those traps?
The only thing that I've thought of so far, besides like limiting my time on the apps themselves, which is easy enough with the settings that you can set up, but just keeping who I follow to like a bare minimum and really picking and choosing which photographers I actually want to interact with and keep up with. Past that, it's just going to be a growing experience, a learning experience, learning on the job, so to speak, just because it's, I'm not sure how exactly to go about it in a way that is, I don't know how it's going to turn out. Put it that way. So when you were on, let's say, Instagram before, did you pay attention to like the numbers of likes and stuff like that? Was that a way
thing that
too
you paid
often?
Attention? You did? Okay. Because I honestly don't care. I use it to see if a photo resonates with people more than others. But if I take a photo that I'm extremely proud of and I put it on there and 3 people like it, I honestly don't care, because I'm like, 3 of you are right. Everyone else, no, I mean, maybe not quite to that extent, but like if a photo is extremely well accepted, or if it's not, it does not make a difference to me, because I'm fairly stubborn in the standpoint of, if there's a photo that I really like, I like it. It's not going to sway me either way. And likewise, if I see someone post a picture that gets a ton of attention, in some cases, I feel like I dodge the bullet a little bit by my photo not getting a lot of attention, because I don't really want myself out there quite as much. Like if I had a tweet that went viral or whatever, I'd be kind of inclined just to delete it and make it go away, because I just don't want the attention that comes with it.
I can see that.
So maybe that's kind of part of it, where I think it's an interesting look at what people will relate to, but I don't get a high off that. So I don't know. So it's I think it could be used as a tool, but I don't see why people get as obsessed with it as they do.
Yeah, I think that the lack of understanding around it and how to properly approach it, if there is one single proper way to approach it, is just because everything's so new and we really don't understand what exactly it's doing to us. That's why there's so many studies out there that are like, oh, social media is terrible. Well, oh no, social media is great. And when in reality, it can be both. Like I've found that it was terrible in the past for me, but that's based on how I used it. And again, going back, like we were talking about last week or the week prior, that mentality of everything, going in with a proper mentality of, I want to use this as a tool to connect with people I wouldn't otherwise have access to, and to share a part of me that I would otherwise keep hidden, and to help or to try and hope that sharing that part of myself is going to be beneficial in some way. So I don't know. This could all blow up in my face in a month from now, or it could be great for me. We'll just have to wait and see.
I think that given the amount of time that you've been away from social media, I think that you will be able to approach it differently now in a way that is more productive. I think also now that you are seeing things from the standpoint of, it'd be nice to, earn more of an income doing this. And that's kind of, like it or not, that's kind of one of the steps with social media in order to make earn a living from this, whether it's, primary income or secondary income. It's kind of an important part of the process these days. And the other thing, like you're saying, when you put stuff out there that's very genuine, you will find people that will relate to that. And for me, at least when it comes to social media, like I said, I don't care about likes. For me, it's about the comments, because I think that's where you can have a stronger, you get more feedback that way. and you hear how people will relate to a photo or to whatever it is that you're putting out there.
Yeah.
So I always very much appreciate that side of things. And as things get a little bit more towards like more long form stuff, where it's not just like clicking a like button, it's taking the time and effort to reply to something and such. I think that's where there's a lot of value.
Those comments, and again, that form of like community that you're building is really what I want it for. And that's also kind of why I wish that Twitter, or sorry, X.
It's Twitter. Let's face it. I'm not going to call it X. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I wish that it didn't plummet as hard as it has.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, I'm hoping that Threads kind of finds its path and picks up a bit.
Yeah.
Just because that's really the type of platform that I want more.
It's a more friendly place right now, for sure.
Yeah. Like I want somewhere that I can post, just have a conversation in a public like sector, instead of just posting a photograph and a couple captions and guys, check out this banger of a photo. Like,
yeah.
I want to have a conversation around either my photos or what I'm currently thinking about, much in the same vein that we have these conversations every week.
Yeah.
And
it seems like the longer form the exchange, the more human people are.
Exactly.
And I think
it's hard to find that.
Yeah. And with the online stuff, so much can be misinterpreted, like with short, like whether it's a short comment or whatever, people can misinterpret things so very easily, but it's very difficult to misinterpret something that's long form.
Yeah. And to actually have a group of people that are willing to continue through that misunderstanding to come out the other side and be like, oh, you actually meant the same thing that I did, but I couldn't convey that meaning because texting and typing online and reading words isn't nearly as good of communication as face-to-face or talking.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, we'll see what ends up happening with it, if anything at all, if it sticks. And I'll put my little links in my biosphere, whatever, in the show notes, whatever. I'll throw the links there. And so if anyone listening wants to go see what ends up happening with this and follow along the journey of self-destruction, they're more than welcome to.
Yeah, because I was just, I think it was last night, I was flipping through some Instagram stories. And then every once in a while it gives like a suggestion of like, oh, here are some people to follow. And you were on the list there. And I'm like, how does it know? First of all, I'm like, is this actually Cody? I'm like, is this like an old account or is this like a new account? I clicked on and then I saw that it was connected to Threads. So I'm like, oh, this is a new account. You know, this isn't just like some old account or something like that. So yeah, it was kind of creepy how it suggested you to me in that sense so quickly after you had signed up.
Yeah, I wonder where it got that information from. Like, how does it know?
Yeah.
Like, how does it know that it's, or how much does it know? Put it that way.
Yeah.
So, but hey, whatever. Like I said, I saw you had followed me on it. I'm like, crap. Well, so much for that
surprise.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And speaking of comments, there was one of the things when it comes to the way I do things on YouTube is that the trolls don't typically find my videos. They're just too hard to find and they're too boring to watch. So they don't even bother commenting. But I got this very bizarre comment. Back in 2020, I'd put a video out talking about how it showed how I focus stacked that photo of the bristlecone pine with a rock in it.
Right. Okay.
And there's this one guy who took exception to that. I mean, he was like, he just responded saying like waste of film, waste of effort, you know, blah, 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 blah. And so I'm like, all right, so we got a troll here. And so I just responded in a way that I oftentimes do. Just using pure reasoning, I just said, is this the way you talk to people in real life too, or is this like an internet thing? And then, so he ended up writing me back because I think he was a little surprised that I responded, but he ended up writing me back and then talking about how it was so horrible that I was showing such a difficult way of doing something that is so very simple. And I'm like, it's horrible for people that are new to photography if they think this is the way they have to do things. And so I kind of humored him. I said, So and he had said, all you have to do is use simple camera movements to take this photo and get all the depth of field you need. And I said, yeah, so I'm pretty new to this. Just if you could tell me that technique, I'd appreciate that. So I was just, kind of playing it up a little bit. And so he went on to write this massive wall of text that was like, I'm surprised YouTube comments can be that long. And I could not read it because it was just intimidating to look at. So I'm like, could you just break that up into paragraphs for me? I can't read that. So he went on to explain how to go about using front movements to get the necessary 10 inches or so of depth of field. But he was overcomplicating things, which is what he accused me of doing. And so basically, I need to get 10 inches of depth of field, stopping down to F45 using some front movements. I get 3 inches. And it was just so bizarre about how he was taking it so very personally. But what he explained was basically everything I had done. And then he claimed that I didn't need 10 inches of depth of field. And it was just a very, very, very bizarre exchange. I ended up just, banning him from the channel after all that. But he, the last thing I said is I asked him, are you by chance a member of the large format photography forum? And he says, oh, yes, I am since 1999. And I kind of knew that he was. But I mention all of this just to say that if you are curious about large format, do not go to the large format photography forum. It's filled with a lot of, there's a lot of great people there, but there's so many people there that it's really bizarre because to them, even though I am 42 years old and I earn a living with large format photography, I am looked at as a amateur that doesn't know what I'm talking about. It's an absolute bizarre world versus in the rest of the world, I'm like the old guy wearing spandex riding a bike. So I'm just putting that out there. It's not a friendly group. If you're looking to learn about large format, don't go to the large format photography forum. So just my little PSA for the day.
Yeah, it's rough.
The comment section can be difficult at times. But yeah.
Speaking on that, I saw a comment from one of your newer videos, I think it was, that I just had to get a laugh at, that was asking why you advertise for Patagonia.
Yes. And I'm sure you saw my response to that one.
Yeah, I'll let people take a look at that on their own, but that was a good response. I enjoyed that. Yeah. And I think you have to go with that kind of, that just either really dumb it down and be like, can you explain this to me, kind of like you did with that guy, or just have some humor with it or just get rid of them altogether, because you can't beat them, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's a very strange thing, because and I do wonder if these are the same people that walk into I don't know, some sort of business where people are working and just start just raking everyone over the coals and how horrible they are and this and that. And just, there's something about the internet that just empowers people to just be so incredibly mean and demeaning, yet they would never do that in real life. I mean, maybe some of them would, but
the mass majority wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I will say that, if I was facing comments like that on a regular basis, at some point, I would just be like, I'm not doing YouTube anymore. I can't do this. And so I think that's also one of the reasons why I don't like doing things that gain more broad appeal, just because it attracts that audience and it's so negative for one's mental health.
Yeah.
Just to be faced with that stuff all the time. And thankfully, most of, at least with the social media in the photography world, you don't really see that kind of stuff so much. That was a bit more of a Twitter thing, certainly more of a YouTube thing, but I certainly haven't really seen that on Instagram or on Threads. It's a better environment.
For now, at least. It'll all turn terrible soon enough, I'm sure.
Oh yes. Yeah. That's what humanity has a tendency to do to things.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We're good at that.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed our creative banter. You can learn more about Cody's work by visiting his website, codyschultz.com. And you can find my work at benhorn.com. For further discussion, join us at patreon.com/creativebanter. It's a place where we can interact with you, the listener. And although we greatly appreciate those who contribute by joining a tier, discussions are open to everyone, whether you're a paying member or not. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you around next time.